Good morning, YouTube. Old Guy 379 coming at you here. I know it's been a little while. It's been a busy week. Wow. I'm going to throw a little video clip in there. One of the places that we go in Chicago. Some of you guys may know this place. But it's one of those places where you get into with any truck, really, but especially this one, and you go, we really can get in and around here? And yeah, you can. It gives you quite a sense of accomplishment when you get in there. But we'll get to that a little later in the video, and I'll put that in. Actually, let's just talk about it right now. So I get this pickup for this place, and you know, the guy I'm leased to, he's been there hundreds of times, and he says, just swing wide, come in the gate. He says, you'll go up a ramp, pull up towards the docks, and he says, then you'll blindside back around and back up another ramp into the dock. And I'm like, okay, big deal, right? That don't sound so tough, right? And look at my bald head there, man. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix the light on me, and I can't. But anyway, so I pull in there and I pull up towards the docks, and I'm looking around, going, "Oh my gosh, what have I just backed there, pulled into here?" You pull up towards 4 docks. Then there's about a 5-foot high retaining wall. It's probably 3 foot down at the end, but you have to blindside back around this retaining wall. And then there's an area where there's a set of docks down here and 2 docks that go up to the, as you're looking at it from the front of the building, to the right. And there's 2 doors there. Well, there was a Fry Miller truck backed into the door closest to me. I thought he was backed into the door. He's about 20 feet away from it, so that made it even more interesting. But I had to blindside around this retaining wall and around the front of his truck. And there's only, I don't know, I bet you that's only 12 feet wide between the side of the one trailer and the wall of the building, you know, over here as you're coming around. So it ends up being on the left side of your trailer. And I had my axle slid as far ahead as I could. And even with this spread, you know, there's still a lot of backswing. I could not get around his truck. I ended up getting straightened out enough to where I could slide my axles back, and then I was able to get back in there. But I'll throw that video clip in right after this, and you watch this, and it's almost comical. I have video of me driving into that. I haven't edited any of that because it's on my GoPro. So one of the viewers was asking, actually, you know, hey, can we get some video of you just driving around, you know, and we'd like to see that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll have a bunch of that. I'll have probably I'll put together like a 30-minute compilation of that at some point. In that gate. Right, yeah, it's a fun one, ain't it? Right? And up there. So here's another one. Coming down this street over here from that direction, cross over here into that dock right there, which, you know, in all fairness, looks like it's okay, but that's only about 65, 70 feet across. There's not very much room. So come out across here, back into that door, pull up that street over there. You can see there's been a lot of guys have an issue with yellow poles. So yeah, lots of fun. Another place I went to, and I get there and he's like, oh yeah, just back into door 3 down here and you can use that side street to help get. Well, that didn't help. There's 3 yellow poles out there, and I'll throw that video in too, right on the tail end of that, and you can see that where the poles are all bent up, and guys have pulled out in this person's yard across the street. And yeah, it's it's been fun. But that's every week for me, really, quite honestly. I mean, I go into a place where there's a lot of room, and I'm just ecstatic, you know, and then I can't hit the dock to save my life. But there's been a lot of comments, a lot of questions asking me, like today, I apologize, I don't write your guys' names down, but you'll know who you are when you read the comment. Somebody said, why, can you explain the purpose of 4 axles running to Florida? It seems like it's a little unnecessary or something like that. You're right. We don't need it in Florida. We have the extra axle on the truck to give us the extra gross weight. When we do LTL out of the Chicago and Minnesota areas coming back out this way, a lot of times by the time we pick our last pick in Minnesota, we're well over 90,000. So that's the purpose of that axle. And that's just to keep us legal coming back across into Montana. Usually by the time we leave Montana and head for Washington or Oregon, we're right down there around 80,000 or under. So, and it just depends on the week. Like this week I came out of there, I'm plumb full, man. I had a trailer so full you couldn't have stuffed a dachshund in there. And I was only about 76,000 pounds. So it just all depends on what the freight is and everything. With LTL, if you guys don't understand how that works and don't know how that works, LTL pays typically by the pallet or by the hundredweight for the freight you're hauling rather than a full load rate. So you're building a load out of smaller chunks of loads, and that's what we do. So, like this week I had, I think 6 pickups or 7 pickups, and I've got 9 stops. So, and some's frozen, some is chilled. So there's a lot of thought has to go into how it's loaded because the frozen stuff has to go in the nose. And unfortunately, sometimes you end up having to move product to get to somebody else's. Some places don't like that, but we do it every week. And there's several of us that do it. There's a lot of guys that come out of the Midwest that do the same thing that we do. It's not something that's just particular to us. But that's the reason for the extra axle. We run Florida, we can only run 80,000 just like everybody else. I can't, I can run that axle down. There's no law says I can't, but I would be so light it would actually make the truck difficult to steer. So, there's no point in it. We have the spread and we can load most of our weight to the back. And that's with a spread axle too, for those that don't know, that are new to the industry, having those axles spread out rather than together. Once you get past that 10 foot 1 inch mark now, or 10 foot mark, it's 10 foot 1 inch is actually the delineator. They start measuring them as individual axles rather than a group, in other words, of axles put together. So having them out over 10 feet apart, sorry, I keep moving my hand out here, I know you can't see it. But when you have those out like that, then they're considered individual axles. And like anybody that pulls a 28 foot single axle trailer knows, you can get 20,000 pounds on that back axle, and then 20,000 on each subsequent axle going back, depending on the state, how their bridge laws work. But by federal bridge laws, that's how that works. So we can put 40,000 pounds on those 2 back axles combined. So we can load a little heavier to the back of the trailer. Now my trailer is set up with a 20-inch deep kingpin setting, 24 inch. So instead of 3 foot. And what that does is that keeps the weight more towards the back of the trailer than the nose of the trailer. So I can really stack up heavy in the nose, and it doesn't really affect the nose of the trailer as much as it would if it, with the kingpin being here than it would if it's back farther. So like with a 3 foot deep kingpin setting, I would have to be a little more careful about how I load the nose of the trailer. 90% of the time, everything we haul, we're putting both pallets in sideways. Just as much space as we can create every time we make a pickup. So hopefully that explains that. You may notice something a little different here. I did go out and splurge a little. Got me a new steering wheel. Got that put on yesterday. I had to go in and get my reefer serviced, do an oil change on that, and my APU needed an oil change, filters changed and stuff. And you guys are starting to show up here where I'm at to unload. And by the way, Diversified Truck Leasing, this is the company I used to manage. For you guys to have your own trucks, or you're in the Billings area and you work for a company and you need a truck serviced, or you need, and this isn't just, I'm doing this just gratuitously. I'm not doing this because they're paying me, because they're not. Trust me. But if you guys need service work done or anything, give them a call, man. And I'll put the link to their company down in the description below. I've done it once before. Great group of guys. Everybody there, with the exception of one guy, has worked for me in the past. Most of that crew started after I started. Great group of guys, solid mechanics. In fact, they just added a new guy that worked for a Kenworth dealer for quite a while, and did a lot of Cummins work, Thermo King work. So he's well versed in everything. But just a shout out to them. They did a great job again, as usual. And I don't think it's just because they know me. In fact, I know it's not, because we treated every customer the same before I left, and I know they're doing the same thing now. Everybody that walks through that door is number one, regardless if you're, Joe Schmo single truck operator to one of the mega carriers. We worked on everybody's trucks. They're a part of the National Lease Network, so they have rental trucks as well. So if there's ever a need for a rental truck, they have trucks. Just contact them. Jeff would be who you talk to there. David would be who you talk to in the shop. Back to what some of the questions are. Somebody had posed a question if I had any experience with single tires. Yes and no. I've never ran them on the tractor, and I'm talking, like the wide base singles, the one that are essentially two tires put together into one. I have zero experience with those, like the Michelin X1s. From what I understand, they're a great tire, but the biggest issue with them is if you lose a tire out on the road, you better hope you have a spare, because you're probably not going to be able to buy one. As popular as they are still very, very, very down on the list. There for a while, guys were starting to order them again as fuel costs were going up for fuel savings, but everybody that I know that's ever ran them for any length of time, they start looking at the cost of the tire, the availability of the tire, how the downtime, the fact that you're probably going to lose a wheel if you blow a tire out. All those things factored together, it's still actually more efficient and cheaper to run dual tires. Now, the super singles, which people get them confused, the super singles are the taller ones. They're narrower than your X1s in that. They're a little taller. They're definitely a heavier tire. Most of those are a 16 to a 20 ply tire. I have experience with those when I ran tanker. Man, they're dang near bulletproof, quite honestly, being a 20 ply tire. It's hard to lose one of those. I did have one on a set of A-train dry vans. In other words, a lead trailer, 40-foot lead trailer with a converter dolly, and then a 24-foot behind that. That's an A-train. A B-train is a semi-trailer, has a fifth wheel on the back and another trailer couples to that, for those that don't know the difference between an A and a B. But anyway, I had one on a A-train dry box that came apart. And when it came apart spectacularly, to the point where it actually ripped a hole in the floor. I've never seen a tire come apart that crazy ever. And we took the tire back, and we really couldn't even figure out why it failed. It wasn't low on air. There was no indications that it had been run flat or anything. It just came apart. It wasn't even a recap. It was a virgin tire. It was getting close to about 2 years old, and we know that axle that it was on didn't have a lot of weight on it. It was never more than about 24 to 25,000 pounds on that axle with those two tires, which they're rated for way more than that. So I don't know. It was crazy though, man. When it went with a fireball. I've never seen a tire explode like that. But so that's my only experience with them. I do know, of course, being singled out, they offer a lot less rolling resistance than a set of duals. And the X1s, they claim are some of the best fuel mileage getting tires. But again, what is the gain in fuel mileage over cost? If you're saving enough in fuel to offset the cost of your downtime and everything, then yeah, by all means, they're great. Most cases, though, like I say, everybody I know that's ever run them, they can't justify that. Oh man, lots of questions out there. Lots and lots of questions from people. I'm going to be done with questions now, and I'm actually going to make a comment. Construction zone etiquette, guys. We're supposed to be professionals. And if that's the case, why is it if I'm doing 45 in a 45 zone in a construction zone, am I the only one who's getting passed or not getting passed? Let me rephrase. How come I'm the only one not passing anybody? Why am I getting passed by trucks? 10, 20, 30 trucks in a row doing 65, 70 through an active construction zone. Don't do that, guys. Don't be that idiot. Just stop that right now. You know, as inconvenient as it is, nobody likes construction zones. Nobody likes the fact that you have to slow down. Nobody likes their lanes getting narrowed up. But there's people and equipment working out there in those construction zones. Well, duh, old guy 379. That's why they call it a construction zone. There's people there. That should be your number one priority and your number one concern are the people on the other side of those barricades when you're bombing through there at Mach 7.5. Okay? Slow down. It looks bad. It looks bad for everybody, and God forbid, man, you ever hit somebody in a construction zone, you are going to prison. You are definitely going to go to prison. You are not going to be able to have a driving job. You know, sorry, I just got a text from my boss, my boss. You know, you're going to end up in prison for a long, long time. It's not worth it. It's really not. And the fact that you took somebody's life, definitely your speed was not worth that. Slow down. Little story, I was going through a construction zone in Illinois back, would have been about 2003 in the fall, and they were loading riprap, in other words, you know, it was busted up concrete from the freeway into dump trucks. And I had slowed down. We were stuck in the left lane. It was all trucks, left lane only, where we were at. Which, if you're in Illinois, you see that quite a bit through construction zones, especially when there's interchanges. It was in the middle of the night. I believe it was up on 290. Man, don't quote me on that, but it was somewhere up in the Chicago area, up north of Chicago, west of Chicago on the 290 or 294. But this loader backed up, and I don't know if he had a brain fart or what he did, but he backed through the Jersey barrier right in front of me and knocked that barricade out about 6 feet out into my lane. Thank God I was only doing about 30, and there was nobody next to me when I moved over to get around it. You know, man, that could have been ugly. If I'd have been one of those guys that's driving like most of these guys are now, doing 65, 70 through there. Ugh, I can't even imagine the carnage from the wreck that would cause. Slow down, guys. Really, seriously. Just, you know, I'm not going to rant about this. It really, it ticks me off, man. I get furious, and I will get on the radio and say something. And then I've had guys, I just had this happen the other day, and, you know, every time I'd start to talk, he'd start talking again over me and telling me what a crappy radio I have. And, well, you can't hear me when you're talking anyway, so you don't even know what kind of radio I have. But obviously you heard me, so good enough, right? Yeah, just, you know, got called out for being an idiot, and it pissed him off because he got called out for being an idiot, and he didn't like being called an idiot. Nobody likes being called an idiot. But he was being an idiot. He was weaving through traffic, dragging 2 trailers for one of those southern LTL carriers. We'll leave it at that. You know, they have red trucks. That narrows it down to at least a couple, right? So, anyway, guys, I've talked on here long enough. We're at the 20-minute mark. I will, like I said, back in the video, there will be the video clips of 2 of the places I went to. Not while I'm doing it, but after the fact, just to give you an idea of what they look like and how little room there is there. And keep the questions coming, man. I really enjoy it, you know, and anytime I can get on here and help and maybe make guys' lives easier, or answer some questions for things that they just want to know about and don't know about. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you. I'll flat out tell you. Or I'll go find the answer from somebody who does. So take care, guys. Be safe out there. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that notification bell to get notified of new videos when they drop. And now I'm sounding like a real YouTuber here. Ugh, yuck. But do that so you get notified. And keep the shiny side up and the greasy side down. And we'll catch you on the flip side, guys. Be safe out there. Take care. And happy Valentine's Day, by the way. Don't forget your significant others. Send flowers. Make a phone call. Call your mother. Even your mother-in-law. Call them. Tell them happy Valentine's Day. Guarantee if you call your mother-in-law and you tell her happy Valentine's Day, just say, hey, I was thinking about you. Have a great day. Happy Valentine's Day. Your wife will love you even more. Marriage tips from Old Guy 379. See you guys. Take care.